It's the 25th of February 2019. This is Scotland at 7. Of course, the first story tonight is Brexit. Jeremy Corbyn has said that the Labour Party will call for a public vote to avoid a damaging Tory Brexit. Keir Starmer, the Labour Party's Brexit spokesman, has said that the party would deliver on a promise made at the party conference and deliver on a public vote. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Theresa May has been urged by some of her own party to delay Brexit rather than to leave with no deal. A number of Conservative MPs have put forward a plan that includes delaying Brexit until the 25th of May to conclude negotiations. The Prime Minister responded by stating that she is focused on March the 29th as the exit date, and there is real determination by her to leave then. The Prime Minister is currently in Egypt negotiating with EU leaders. There, the Dutch Prime Minister, Mark Rutte, has warned that the UK needs to wake up if it is to avoid sleepwalking into a no-deal scenario. Meantime, the Labour Deputy Leader, Tom Watson, has urged disaffected MPs to join a new group within the party. Last week, 9 Labour MPs left the party and founded a new group, the Independent Group, amid growing frustration with the Labour Party leadership. Mr. Watson said that there may be the only way to keep the party together. The group aims to give the MPs more say and will undertake to let them agree policy work. Back here in Scotland, the MSP have been speaking, and our leader in the Westminster Parliament, Ian Blackford, said that the Tory Prime Minister was being reckless in the extreme by refusing to offer an extension that's been offered by the EU leaders. And they would never be forgiven for taking Scotland and the UK to the brink of economic disaster by running down the clock and threatening to leave the EU with no deal. Analysis has shown that any form of Brexit will be damaging for Scotland. CBI Scotland has warned that a no-deal Brexit could result in a multi-million-pound blow to the Scottish economy, while a report by Scotland's top economic advisor has revealed that a no-deal Brexit could result in a recession worse than 2008, causing Scotland's gross domestic product to fall by 7% and putting 100,000 jobs at risk. Commenting, Ian Blackford said, Theresa May must grasp the lifeline of an extension to Article 50. The Prime Minister is being reckless in the extreme by refusing this offer from the EU leaders. She will never be forgiven for taking Scotland and the UK to the brink of economic disaster by running down the clock and threatening to drag us out of the EU with no deal. Once again, the UK government is ignoring Scotland's wishes by dancing to the tune of the extreme Brexiteers in the Tory party. Leaving the EU with Theresa May's very, very bad deal, or with no deal at all, would be disastrous for Scotland. MPs will not be blackmailed into a false choice which would destroy jobs, damage living standards, and inflict lasting harm on the economy. Scotland did not vote for Brexit, and we must not be dragged out of the EU against our will. If Westminster refuses to respect the wishes of Scotland, we will act to protect our interests. There's another heap of press releases on the desk here from various different groups. The CBI warning of gloomiest crisis since 2009. The banks are here saying that they're not ready for a no-deal Brexit. The Royal Bank of Scotland has warned this month that more than 50 billion euros in cross-border payments are at risk without licenses. But the chairman, Howard Davis, has said that every expectation is that licenses would be approved by the 29th of March. So a slightly better bit of news there, I suppose. The Association of British Insurers warns that a no-deal Brexit would be very, very damaging, although one little glint of hope on there is Hiscox, which is part of the oldest insurance market in the world, said that the legal process to transfer some policies and liabilities to its Luxembourg hub gave certainty to its customers that they could legally pay all valid claims, even in a hard Brexit scenario. There's obviously another one here with the aerospace groups, again warning of catastrophes. Now, we move on to the next part, and it's across the world, the other side of the world, and Venezuela. Spain will condemn any military intervention to oust the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The opposition leader asked the international community to consider all options to remove Maduro from power ahead of the meeting with the US Vice President Mike Pence. The UN has called for violence to be avoided at all costs. Another piece of news now from the Indian Ocean, the Chagos Islands, the International Court of Justice in The Hague was tasked in 2017 to examine the legality of the situation of the Chagos Islands. The government of Mauritius, claims that in 1965 it was forced to give up the islands as part of a deal for independence from the UK, which they got in 1968. The islands were then turned into a US military base. Today, the UN's highest court has said that the UK should end its control of the islands. The Mauritian PM has said that this is an historic moment for Mauritians and all its people, including the Chagos, who were unconscionably removed from the homeland and prevented from returning for at least half a century. Back home here to Scotland now, hydro plants, they've been building, they've applied for some permissions to build hydroelectric plants in Glen Etive, but this could still be halted. The Highland Council approved proposals for 7 plants in the area last week, despite having received 650 objections. The Glen is classed as a national scenic area, and 3 of the plants are to be built in designated wildland. Local councillor Andrew Baxter is now looking to use a rule that means planning permission granted by the committee should be looked at by the council as a whole. This requires the backing of 15 councillors and would see the council bust to Glen Etive to see themselves for themselves what the development plan might mean. Hezbollah. Britain plans to ban all wings of Hezbollah, with the Home Secretary Sajid Javid saying that you could not distinguish between the banned military wing and the political party. Mr. Javid added that the group was continuing its attempts to destabilize the Middle East. Hezbollah now is in control of 3 out of 30 ministries in Lebanon. Israel welcomed the move and asked the EU to follow suit. Firefighter recruitment. If you've ever dreamed of being a firefighter, as many children, I suppose, have in the past, now's your chance. The Scottish Fire and Rescue Service looked to boost their numbers by up to 300. A major recruitment drive is underway, and there will be a number of open days. The service is looking to recruit people from a wide range of backgrounds, as nearly half its staff, current staff, are going to be eligible for retirement within the next decade. Scottish Justice Secretary Hamza Youssef has welcomed an interim report into the miners' strike. The review group led by John Scott QC is looking into the impact of the policing on the affected communities in Scotland in 1984 and 1985. Mr. Youssef said Scotland was leading the way by ensuring the experiences of those affected by the policing of this dispute are properly heard and understood. He also recognised the contributions of those who had been affected. The slight extension has been agreed for the group to consider all the evidence received. So it's been a rather warm day. It's quite warm in the studio, and it looks like that is going to continue for the next week or so. But today in Arboyne, Scotland had its warmest ever February day recorded. The mercury hit 18.3 degrees Celsius. Records were also broken today for temperatures all over. In Cardigan, 20 degrees was recorded, and experts say this is due to air coming up to us here in Scotland from the Canary Islands and Africa. Well, eating disorders. Doctors in Scotland are to be given new guidance to support people with eating disorders. The guidance from the Scottish network aims to take into cultural and geographical makeup of Scotland. People in more rural areas struggle to access specialist support. The announcement was made at the start of Eating Disorders Awareness Week, which is organised by the charity BEAT. Scottish Minister for Mental Health, Claire Hockey, said it is vital that patients across Scotland have the best possible support available. Although guidelines will be for the healthcare professionals, there will be a version for patients and carers. So that seems to be the end of the news for tonight. See you next time.